false, misleading, and deceptive conduct, it's okay if you say things have changed and that's why you were false, misleading, and deceptive. Today, we're talking about our budget and how it's going to change our real estate industry, and tenants are going to be paying wildly high rent and landlords the winner, which is not what the government wanted. We're going to tell you about the history of when this happened last time and what we read from the budget last night. Stay tuned.
What an intro.
Wow. What did you reckon about last night?
Yeah, wow. Well, it's I guess we got some snippets a little early on, but yeah, wow. It's big changes for the industry, big changes for generations like myself when it comes to negative gearing, capital gains discounts. There were many changes, and just trying to see what their angle was and what the whole point of it was, Mark. It's like they said, not touching negative gearing, and then here we are. As of 7:30 last night, guys, was the cutoff. No more.
So, for people that don't know, this is a absolute windfall for current landlords, and it's the worst news a current tenant can hear. The two biggest reasons to introduce stock into our market and to introduce rental properties into our market, the two biggest reasons a landlord would buy, an investor would buy to put that property on the rental market, have been absolutely slaughtered. So they've taken the biggest incentive for a landlord to enter the market and they've blocked them. Furthermore, it seems like it's really bad to be a tenant. And I'm thinking, why is it, they're trying so goddamn hard as a government for first home buyers, but there are people genuinely out there that do not want to buy a property. They want to remain as a professional tenant. They invest in other asset classes. They don't want to be in property. But This is making it really, really hard for tenants out there. I'm shocked.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, with no incentive, you're going to dry up the supply in that market. And with new investors now entering the market, they're going to have to make up for that shortfall. So I did a little equation on Monday night. Roughly $1 million, you buy $1 million unit with an $800,000 mortgage on it. Basically, investors without negative gearing would roughly be about $200 a week off. It'd be worse off. And generally, like we see in business, that expense is passed on to the consumer. So as we see new investors enter the market, they're going to need these higher rents. And guess what existing landlords are going to do? Match those rents. So tighter supply, higher price. I mean, we see these rental lines all over Instagram, all over Facebook. You know, the agents walking for 2 minutes down the road with people there half an hour early. Well, guess what, Mark? Those lines are going to get a hell of a lot bigger.
Do you know what? We didn't have super in 1992, and the government did something really, really clever. They introduced super. There's now, relative to property, super sitting at 4.4 trillion and property sitting at 10 trillion. So there's now 44% of people's money tied up in super. I've got to say, that money wasn't suddenly saved. That money was always there. It just got reallocated to super. So there's been the reason why these rents are driving so goddamn hard is because the government is saying, let's save for the future in super. Where's that super sitting? Most of it in stocks. So, the tenants having a really hard time, and I don't see any relief for a tenant for being a tenant. I understand they're trying to draw relief via, hey, Mr. Tenant, go and buy a property, but even that doesn't stack for tenants. They're like, I don't want to, I can't get what I want in a rental property for that value. I'd rather rent it and I'll invest in something else with my money, whatever. But it's, this is crazy change. The landlords are going to be the big winners out of this. It's going to work the opposite to how the government's modelled it. And why do we say that? Because when these sort of reforms came in previously, the rents went wild. The rents are going to go wild.
100%, Mark. And I think you've you hit the nail on the head there. I mean, they're trying to appease this younger generation, but let me tell you, I'm 28, and I would say it's a good even split between good friends of mine, whether they're in the east, up in the north here, but a good even split between people that actually want to move into an owner occupier and people that want to do exactly what you said: sit in a rental, rent the property out, something where maybe it might have been too expensive for them to live in by themselves. They do need to rent it out. Well, guess what? That opportunity is a hell of a lot harder now for all these people, and such a big part of the market is entwined that way at the moment. So I don't know where they do their homework on these things, but I think it's going to be worse come from it than good. That's for sure.
You know what I found also last night? I know it's a domestic budget for Australians, but I found there was no global approach. There was no, you like. I hear Barnaby Joyce talking about Singapore and how wonderful. My brother-in-law's always telling me how wonderful Singapore is. These guys have no resources. They have no farms. They're a little piece of land, but they've worked out industry and business enough where they can prosper. And I found that last night's budget was not about, it was all I heard was tax, and tax reforms. I didn't hear about investment or growth. We've got 2 or 3 billion customers out there worldwide, and we are fantastic. When at in business as Australians, we're very well respected worldwide. I didn't hear any support for that, for business, for industry, for resource, for any of that stuff. This is the approach we should be taking as a country. I just felt like it was, there's two ways to get rid of our, yes, we've got this huge debt, and the way is either to increase income or to tax people to reduce spend. Well, all I heard about was reduction in taxes, but I didn't hear about growth and prosperity and what we're actually doing as a country, to build.
Yeah, and especially with the current environment we're in, you would have thought the Middle East would have opened some eyes in regards to we are a lonely island, amongst the big world, and I really thought there might have been a sort of push for in-house manufacturing to sort of come back to life a bit, or in-house refining, but nothing whatsoever. I mean, there was a emergency fuel package, but that was levels that New Zealand have currently in their reserves. Australia had almost 50% less than New Zealand in our fuel reserves. So emergency package to bring it up to where it should be, because it wasn't managed in the past. I think it was about 6.4 billion spent on $1,000 tax refund for certain workers. Like, you just see where this money is invested, and
That
where does that
that two
thousand a
hundred and
week go?
fifty dollars, like, is that a joke? Like, I understood that it compounded to a lot of money, like across the nation, but I'm just thinking, like what a joke to be so proud of $250 as them putting that into their budget for Australians. I'm like, why is that
Yeah,
so
what?
good? Like, why is that? And
Like,
am I missing something?
oh, mate, I'm completely on the same page. Completely. no forward thinking, no, let's invest this to create an industry to help support itself. Like yeah, it looks like Australians, we are one of the most taxed individuals per capita in the world, and looks like that trend's going to continue as per the Albanese government.
Like if that's going to be, if the purpose of this budget is to be to make Australia great again, I'm going to use that dangerous, is to make Australia great again. I didn't see any big headlines to say, wow, like that is smart, that is clever, like well done. Didn't even see that coming. Genius. And don't get me wrong, I'm all up for pain for gain. Do you know what I mean? I get that in business, you've got to, but I didn't see any pain for gain in there. It was a Muppet show, as Lisa says. It definitely was. The thing that struck me as a Muppet show, Josh, is when they all say "hear, hear." Did you watch it? Like it's like, and everyone's like a drone in that place. It was the weirdest thing. What else is that lady's got to say about? Got to say exactly how the first home buyer being assisted. I
Is there
gotta tell
idea
you.
that investors, leave that market when, investors in the current market weren't taking up a big space of our buyers
No,
already. So,
if you've done a really good job killing them, Mr. Government, and guess what? You just put the nail through them. You just put a nail through new investors coming into the market. The existing investors are going to do so well from rental increases, and the person the least beneficiary, is tenants in the marketplace at the moment. You idiots.
Mark, what about buyers though? Like, what does this do for supply? Because I tell you what, if I own a property negatively geared, there's no way I'm disposing of that property. It becomes an equity
Frozen.
powerhouse that yet again you can't replicate that. That's what I was talking with a bunch of my friends as well, is like, Josh, what do you think is going to happen with supply? Like, wouldn't people be less willing to release these assets because you can't replicate that infrastructure again? I'm like, yeah, exactly. Like, how else are you
Frozen.
going to, you can't pull out equity now and write off parts of that interest against your income.
And what
Like,
the
you're not going
box
to sell
heads can't work out is no one wants to build.
no.
By pushing new investors to build, it doesn't mean building's going to start making money. Builders are going to start making money. It doesn't mean the only way builders make money is for prices to rise. Because all the development sites that we're selling and that we sell, most of them, I'm saying 99% of them, do not stack up. The developer cannot make money because of compliance. It's so heavy, and because of taxes. Look at
Yeah,
Meriton. 5 years hasn't bought something. Biggest developer in Australia hasn't bought anything in New South Wales for 5 years. Work it out, you muppets. If you push all your investors to Meriton, he's still not going to come back to New South Wales because it doesn't stack.
100%. And that capital gains change as well is also going to stop people from selling. So you're going to have even tighter market, even tighter supply. The whole reason we're in this situation is a supply issue. All these homes they're meant to be building, supplying, it ain't happening. Immigration is continuing to flood the system under the Labor government. But hey, they've come up with the solution last night. But it boggles the mind, Mark. Boggles the
I want
mind.
to I want to finish off on positives. Our take from last night's budget. The winners are existing landlords. The winners are existing landlords. Who else are the winners out there, Josh, from what you saw last night? Let's stay positive.
Yep. Prestige market. I think that will do really well. Your number one investment when it comes to property at the moment for future purchases is your owner occ, because it's the only
Yeah.
thing they can't take anything from you. So I really think tightly held areas, the pockets, your Manleys, your Watson Bays, those sorts of areas, I think they will do tremendously well, because I find that people, instead of buying something for, as an example, you got 10 million to spend, you buy a $5 million nice house and you spend five on some investments. Well, that's going to change now. that original recipe is more going to be like, I'm going to spend 7.5 on my owner-occ and maybe buy one investment. Maybe the kids will take it on later. But I think owner-occ prestige market, that'll do really well out of this. What about you, Mark?
I just like to pay respect and acknowledgement to your spelling today on false, misleading, and deceptive conduct. So, Aloud is spelled Allowed.
Oh, wow. There you go. Aloud. Thank you.
Yeah. If you haven't realised, our industry is full of naughty schoolboys and naughty schoolgirls that are not formally educated. So this is why we are allowed to spell like this. But you've got a degree.
Yes, that's right. Numbers, not English.
There you go, guys and girls. That's our take on the budget. Good luck out there. I would not be surprised to see most of these big ticket items removed when this government is removed. And have a lovely day.
Yeah, and just also, Mark, we should note that off the plan property, you still be able to negative gears. So if you've got anything off the plan in tight areas, goodbye, but you'll be competing against some big investors looking at that stock now. Thanks, guys. Great chatting.
Good for commercial industrial off the plan, and good for new units off the plan. By the way, we have some for sale.
Exactly.
Call us today. Love you. See you. Bye.
See you guys.